Well, welcome back to the Power Breakfast Show. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. Time now for the newspaper review, and to help me peruse the daily for today and talk about some of the big issues, I am joined by my esteemed panel here. Let me begin by introducing them. I'm joined by the Deputy Governor of Murang'a, Honorable Gakure Monyo. Welcome to the program. In addition, next to him is Mheshimiwa Member of Parliament for Kiminini, Chris Wamalwa. Also welcome to the program. And we are together with Honorable Kimani Gonjiri, Member of Parliament for Bahati. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good. Gentlemen, let's start with what's happening in the newspapers. And the Daily Nation, the headline is NASA's strike crisis. SRM rejects deal. We should be having that up on your screen shortly. Let me just touch on one or two of the headlines. Desperate patients turned away from hospitals as more than 25,000 medics boycott work over pay. We also have received news that one person, a critically ill patient at the Samburu Referral Hospital, died as he was awaiting treatment. I think it's only fair that Honorable Monyo gives us insight because he can shed light on the discussions between the Council of Governors and the nurses and why we got where we are. Mheshimiwa, your thoughts, tafadhali.
Good morning. Wahiga, thank you very much. You know, as you're aware, the Council of Governors, the Ministry of Health, and the Nurses Union has sat and signed or put across a CBA, which has been since passed on to SLC, because that's their mandate. The Salaries and Review Commission is their mandate to authenticate what has been agreed, and it is sitting in their interest. So what is remaining is for SLC to communicate back to the other tripartite group that they have agreed with what it is. If SLC still holds, that is where the institution, that's the institution that is holding this country at ransom for this case of the nurses.
I'll allow Honorable Wamalwa to comment on this, but the papers are giving two different views on the reaction of SRC. I believe the Nation is talking about SRC are pretty much going through the process and they're expected to give feedback any minute now. But in the other daily, they're talking about SRC worried about the wage bill that would balloon as a result of this deal, and so they're still concerned that can Treasury be able to afford this payment. Do we have an accurate idea of where SRC lies with this? Are they okay with the proposals, or do they still have issues? And I don't know if any of you can comment on the same.
You know, SLC will always play the role, the defensive role of an employer. And this is always a statement that comes from them that the salary bill is high and all that. I think clearly we should appreciate the role that is played by the nurses into the economy of this country and see if they are best remunerated, what will they save? They will save souls of Kenyans. And I think whatever they must be asking, having been agreed between the Ministry of Health, the Council of Governors, and the Nurses Union, I think those ones cannot be said that they ignored all parameters to look into. Hence, SLC finds it a little more. Well, the burden will be on the Council of Governors. Health is devolved, so the governors themselves will be paying those salaries and wages which they've agreed to. So I think it's upon SLC to look at it and see how good is it that it was looked into. I can see Honorable Wamalwa he wants to make a statement in regards to the same. Why do we find ourselves in this situation again?
Absolutely, this is a matter that it is actually multifactorial. First and foremost, when it comes to employment of nurses, not just the Council of Governors and healthcare, much that it is said is devolved, but you also have national hospitals. For example, like Moi Teaching Referral Hospital, Kenyatta Hospital, the Spinal Injury. All these are hospitals which are under the national government, and they've got nurses, and these nurses are a member of this union. So when you talk about CBA, CBA is a collective bargaining agreement whereby the parties involved come together and agree. And as they agree in terms of the terms. They also agree in terms of the time frame of the implementation of what they've agreed. So in this case, all salaries are harmonized by SRC, the Salary and Remuneration Commission. So I cannot just say it's SRC. This is where the national government has to come in.
So you see
it is the national government which is failing because it is the one that provides policy. SRC is under the national level. So this is the highest time again we get back to His Excellency the President to provide direction as the CEO of the country. Kenyans are suffering, people are dying, and nurses play a critical role. But for how long are we going to wait for people to die? So my humble request is His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has to provide leadership in this. Matters of remuneration, as a matter of fact, county governments are just like conveyor belts. They only pay what has been agreed. The nurse in Muranga, the nurse in Bungoma, the nurse wherever, let's say in Kajiado, their salaries have been harmonized. So after the division of revenue has passed, vertical sharing of the national revenue, the amount of money is pushed to the county government. What has been pushed there is part of that salary that the county government is supposed to do. It does not answer at all. So the issue of bringing the kinds of governors here is just administrative purposes. But when it comes to remuneration, it's purely a national issue. So you feel and this is the SRC coming, the buck stops at the Jubilee government, His Excellency.
Honorable Kunjiri, do you agree?
Well, I don't agree. Of course, he's just playing politics. Because their mind is just Uhuru, 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 nothing else in their mind. But I think he needs to go back on. He's very much educated. We respect him in the house. He needs to come up, and I'm shocked because he should lead us on what the Constitution says. Now he's just jumping in the need. We have the commissions. And the commissions have their work. And I think the president said, and he finished this issue, and he said these people should be paid their money. But it lied with the county government. He said that openly. So now it's the commission to deal with that issue. It's not no longer Uhuru. But now it has come that even if you are not agreeing with your wife, it's Uhuru. If you're in the bedroom and you're not agreeing with anybody in your bedroom, it's Uhuru. No. We are leaders. Let's lead on the truth. And the truth will let us free. When you don't mix and bring politics, I think it will be better for Kenyans. We can be able to help them. Because Uhuru finished his work. And he said openly they should be paid. I don't know why he's dragging Uhuru inside. And he knows that this commission has their own work. Even the parliament, we are independent. He wants to tell us now Uhuru can come and dictate the parliament. He cannot. We are also independent. In fact, if we want something to pass in the parliament, the ODM, they will whip their people. We shall whip our people and see if we don't agree, how do we vote?
Let me give him a chance to respond to that.
Let me justify. Maybe my friend Honorable Kunjiri is missing out. The way the institutions of government are, we have checks and balances. His Excellency the President has veto powers on Parliament. You can pass a law and the President can reject that law and bring it back with a memorandum. So when we talk about the executive, the judiciary and even legislature, all these arms of government, they check each other. So the President has a very big role. We've complained many times when bills are passed in Parliament and they are taken to the President to assent. The President does not just rubber stamp. He has powers in terms of he can reject and send a memorandum back to Parliament. We've seen this happening. We say in the security laws. So the President has powers.
So what should he do
in
right
this
now?
case, the President is the CEO of the country. Even the President has powers over the county government. Remember what happened to Makueni when they wanted to dissolve the entire government. When the committee was put in place by His Excellency the President, the recommendations came and the President had rejected. So the President has even powers over the county government. It does not mean that the county governments can work in isolation. At the top of the governance and structure of this country, the President, the buck stops at the presidency in whatever case. So you can't isolate the President in this case. So why this is there? Can I just finish, please? Now, after this MOU had been done, the President has a role to ensure that the implementation is done to the letter. But here is where he's failing. The buck stops at presidency.
Thank you. Honorable Monyo, let me ask something before I give you a chance to respond. With 62 days and counting to the elections, there is a challenge that this issue become politicized to the detriment of those who are ill right now. How do we find that balance where we deal with the issues without politicizing the matter?
You can clearly see what Honorable Chris is saying and where he's leading us into. The current chair of the Council of Governors is a member of COD. And he made a statement yesterday, His Excellency Josephat Nanok, the governor of Turkana. And he put it very clearly that the deliberations between the Minister of Health, the Council of Governors, and the Nurses Union is done. whether you want to bring in Uhuru or you want to bring Sisiri Karaoke, where SLC is a commission under her ministry or her docket, it all depends with which word is in your mouth. And the one for Chris is in line to this country early in the morning. That is the president who's not done his bit. The president has done his bit, and he told the commission and the other parties to go ahead and finish it up. I don't think you need to tell the president to wake up and go to the SLC and find out what is in their interest. No. It is done. It is SLC as a commission that is remaining to finish its roles so that this can be done. Chris, you would politicize this, just like you politicize everything else. You've politicized the rail, you've politicized everything. But I think this time round, it will boomerang back onto you guys, because the Council of Governors is in the hands of one of your main guys in NASA.
It could be a brief statement from Honorable Bunjeri.
You see, I'm shocked with my friend here, what he's saying, and I really respect him. And he's putting it very clearly, that if he pass the bill, when it goes to the president, if he rejects, comes back in the parliament, because he's not a dictator. That's where the power is. He brings it back in the parliament, we discuss it, we see whether it is okay or not okay. So we must agree that everybody has his own powers, and the constitution allows somebody to do up to a certain certain level of how he's supposed to do. And let me tell you, this country, if we agree and work with the constitution, is very simple. But there are some people who want to leave the constitution. We go outside on the road, chasing IBC, doing all those things outside the tarmac. I think this country, we must respect Wajinko, who passed the constitution, and we must follow to the letter. I am shocked that my friend here is very young, somebody who can be even a president of this country. I don't know even if he can be a president and is not using the constitution. Why is he going to lead that? Because
let me give my chance.
I need to just
go ahead, Honorable.
I think Honorable Bunjeri should read, I think it's Article 115 of the Constitution, presidential assent. When the president rejects the bill, he brings it back with a memorandum with the recommendations. He does not just reject it without any recommendations.
Yes.
And for you to overturn the president's recommendations, you need 2/3 majority. So this is where we are saying the executive and the legislature, they check each other. Are you seeing? So you can't say the president has no role when it comes to legislation. Let me give an example. Just like a house, we have a husband, a wife, children, and all that, and you find that let's say the department of the kitchen. Most of the time, you find the mothers are the ones in charge of the kitchen, so they have to know that food has been bought. So if there's no food, children will suffer. But maybe there's no food, mom will say maybe daddy did not provide money. So the president here is like the husband of the house. Even if he's not involved in terms of matters of the kitchen, if not the mother, until you provide the money, is when the mother will be able to do this. So the county governors are like the mother. Unless the money has come from the national level to the county, is when they're going to give out the money. They cannot pay any extra penny. We need to understand that. And that's why the SRC comes in terms of harmonization, matters to do the remuneration. So the SRC plays a very critical role. And the challenge here is this. If these are the relevant bodies that came together and they agreed in terms of the terms, they agreed in terms of the time frame, why is it that within that time frame they could not implement what they had agreed? So in case of any crisis going on whatsoever, the buck stops at the president.
So you feel that
even if it is something to do with the county government. I gave an example of Makueni. There was a crisis in Makueni, and where did the buck stop? At the presidency. He is the overall CEO of the entire country. There's no way that the county government will work in isolation.
Maybe the president has been working, we may not know of his efforts. Maybe Honorable
absolutely, it has been there.
Shed light on that.
It has been there, but where maybe there's staggering in terms of implementation of the agreed, he has also a responsibility to go further, because Kenyans are dying. He's the figurehead. He's the father. I've just given an example of a house where the father is there and the wife is there. The wife is in charge of the kitchen. Until money is provided, you cannot buy. Absolutely. So you cannot isolate the presidency from this. Whether it's a security matter, whether it's a devolution matter, the president The buck stops at President.
Honorable Monyo, briefly share with us what the President has been doing in regards to this.
You know, Honorable Chris, you must take cognizance that commissions have been mandated to finalize on issues. And here, if I take the analogy of the kitchen and the food, Council of Governors has done its bit, Ministry of Health has done its bit, the Nurses Union has done its bit, the food is cooked. But if you just cover it in the kitchen that you can't serve because the table must be set by whoever is responsible for setting the table, then the food will never be eaten. But I think the institutions have done their bit. Whether we will belabor here till evening that is the President who is doing it, the President will not go and run the affairs of SLC. Maybe if you said that Cicely Karaoke, who SLC falls in her docket, is the one who's supposed to go and push Sarah Serem, so be it. But you have seen there has always been a push at SLC in all cases regarding salary. It's just not for the nurses, even for you guys when you wanted to increase yours, even for workers in other dockets in the counties. So it is just like you. I'm sure you also don't give salaries so straightforward and easily to your employees.
Gentlemen, I want us to switch gears and try and find a way out of this. I'm sure there are certain things that we can agree on. We can agree on the fact that this nurses strike should not be happening.
Yes.
We need to quickly find a way out of it.
Yes.
Quickly, suggestions from each of you before we take a look at what else is in the papers. How do we get out of this predicament before it goes too far? And I'll give each of you a chance. 1 minute comment from each of you. We can start with Honorable Gunjiri.
I think we must come up with the solution, and because the President gave the direction what should be done, I think the Commission now should come up and tell us, because they're saying they are going to release something today, they are going to see ABCD today. I think they need to release and give the Kenyans the way forward. What I need to remind Chris, you know, we should not behave like small babies that when you ask just your father when you are leaving the house, I want sweet, I want sugar, I want all these things, and it will be given. No. The Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta doesn't have the machine of making money. We run this country with what we are collecting and what we can borrow. That's how we run this country. But you see, for them, they just feel that maybe Uhuru, or maybe because his father was the president, there is a machinery of money somewhere. You just go and turn and get the money. You know, we must agree. There's a problem.
Briefly.
So there's a problem.
Yes. And
when there's a problem, for me now, it lies to the Commission. Okay. Commission should come out, actually not tomorrow, today, and say what is the way forward. Then now you can hear what the President can say. If there's no money now, because the work of the President is to provide the money, but he must provide the money when there is a structure, and is when he is shown what should be done. So you sit with the Treasury, you look for the money, and that is not a problem.
So you're challenging SRC to give leadership today? Yes,
they should come out today and tell us what is the way forward.
Thank you. Honorable Amalwa?
First of all, I want to correct the perception that my friend mentioned.
As you give us the way forward.
SRC is not under Cecil. Cecil is there for public service, and SRC cuts down across the board in terms of salary enumeration, starting from legislature, judiciary, up to the public sector. Now, what is there is it is a requirement that every independent body must give a report to His Excellency the President. So you can see in terms of reporting who is the boss. A report is supposed to be tabled in Parliament, another one is supposed to be given to the President on an annual basis. Now, in this case, if at all these bodies had come together, and in terms of the CBA, there are some terms you must look at in terms of the time frame, and you cannot increase the salary without involving the Treasury. The Treasury is involved. So they must have looked at these issues in terms of the cash flow analysis and said, but such a time, we should have had enough money to pay these nurses. But if the money is not there at such a time, you ask yourself, where has the money gone to? This is the case of corruption that you've been complaining about. Because that money maybe that was made for the increment of the implementation of the CBA has been lost through corruption. So we must put mechanisms in place.
Okay. What's the way forward?
Put mechanisms in place.
Yes.
Close the loopholes of this corruption so that that particular money is made for nurses can be available and the nurses should be paid.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Of course. And Honorable Monyo, the way forward, briefly.
It's so easy. If Council of Governor, Nurses Union, and the Ministry of Health say they have done their part, what is remaining is for SRC to finish their bit. It's so easy. They should just come across into one table, sit down the four parties, even call Treasury if need arises, and then just agree on way forward. It's not something like one of them sits in Botswana, the other one in Egypt.
They are all in the same.
They are all in this city.
Same city, exactly.
Yeah, all they just need to go into one boardroom, look at what are the issues that needs to be sorted out, and they finish them today and now. So that
why do you think they have not done that, if it's that simple?
Well, I'm not too sure because I don't have direct involvement, but I think to me is the issue of SLC always did it early on issue to be perceived that they didn't just give out salaries anyhow.
Okay.
So that must be, to my understanding, what must be delaying them. But can they come together today and then see if they need to consult Treasury, they consult Treasury, and then they make a way for.
Are you giving a suggestion, not an accusation?
It's not an accusation.
Yes.
But one thing I want to say is SRC, when they finalize this, they must get money from the Treasury. We just passed the budgets, and I didn't see any provision as provided for that. You know, once they agree on those CBS, it's supposed to be provided for in the budget, so that Treasury can provide that money. But if Treasury has not provided that money, there's no way SRC is going to get the money from.
Can there is a supplementary budget?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can raise a supplementary budget, but it has to come through the Treasury. So those are some of the mechanisms they can see together. And the question is, if the CBA was done, why is it that it was not provided for in the budget? So now we raise questions of commitment, whether you are committed to the CBS or the CBS being done just for public relations. And this is the problem we've been having in this country. So many CBS are there, but they are not fulfilled. They are not implemented to the letter. So that means one party is taking another one for granted. Nurses have a right in this country. Nurses play a very critical role. People are dying. That's why in times like this, we need extraordinary mechanisms. And to come up with extraordinary mechanisms, the buck stops at presidency.
I knew you were going to go there. Well, I think let's take a short break because there are lots of other issues to talk about. We'll be right back in just a bit. We'll be taking a look at what else is in your dailies for today.